Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in A Course in Miracles, complete and annotated edition, edited by Robert Perry. We are in Chapter 3, Sane Perception, Section 9, The Fear of Teaching. If you would like to close your eyes and join me in prayer. Dear God, if left to my own devices, my perception will be skewed. I surrender to you everything that I think I am. Please, God, take my past, plan my future. Send your Spirit to redeem my mind, that I might be set free. May I be your channel, God, and serve the world. May I become who you would have me be, do what you would have me do, go where you would have me go, and say what you would have me say. God, please give me your vision. Help me to set aside everything I think I know about A Course in Miracles, about you, about myself, and about others. God, please allow me to have an open mind for a new experience. Thank you, God. Amen. All right, so we are on Section 9, The Fear of Teaching, and we start off immediately with a footnote 113. Ken Wapnick explained that this section's material was originally about a class in abnormal psychology Bill was scheduled to teach at the undergraduate campus of Columbia University, adding that Bill always had a morbid fear of public speaking. Absence from Felicity is the book, page 261. Its discussion of the fear of teaching, then, was originally directed at Bill and will not be directly applicable to all readers, though since we are all meant to be teachers, in some sense, many of the principles discussed here are generally applicable. See Cameo 17 for more details. As a teacher, if you become concerned with totally irrelevant factors, such as the physical condition of the classroom, the number of students, the hours of the course, and the many elements which you may choose to select for emphasis as a basis for misperception, you have lost the knowledge of what any interpersonal relationship is for. Footnote 114. Since the material in this paragraph follows immediately after the last line of the previous section, the implication seems to be that when the teacher loses sight of what any interpersonal relationship is for, he has done so because he sees totally irrelevant factors, such as those listed above, as having power to dictate his perception of himself. It is not true that the difference between pupil and teacher is lasting. They meet in order to abolish the difference. At the beginning, since we are still in time, they come together on the basis of inequality of ability and experience. The aim of the teacher is to give pupils more of what is temporarily his. This process has all the miracle conditions we referred to at the beginning. Footnote 115. This refers to the miracle principles given in Chapter 1. The teacher, or miracle worker, gives more to those who have less, bringing them closer to equality with him at the same time gaining for himself. Footnote 116. For miracle principles that relate closely to this sentence, see Miracle Principles 7, 9, 16, 18, and 43. And if you'd like to pause the video to look those up, go ahead. That's what's great about these videos. You can pause them at any time. The confusion here is only because teacher and pupil do not gain the same things because they do not need the same things. If they did, their respective, though temporary roles would not be conducive to mutual profit. Freedom from fear can be achieved by both teacher and pupil only if they do not compare either their needs or their positions in regard to each other in terms of higher and lower. Presumably, children must learn from parents. What parents learn from children is merely of a different order. Ultimately, there is no difference in order, but this involves only knowledge. Neither parents nor children can be said to have knowledge, or the relationships would not exist as if they were on different levels. The same is true of the teacher and the pupil. Children have an authority problem only if they believe that their image is influenced by authority. This is an act of will on their part because they are electing to misperceive the authority and give him this power. A teacher with an authority problem is merely a pupil who refuses to teach others. Footnote 117. A teacher with an authority problem seems to be one who sees others as having authority over his identity. In this case, the teacher has given his pupils the authority to shape his self-image with their opinions of him. This makes him resentful of teaching to the point where he may refuse to teach altogether. He wants to maintain himself in a position where he can be misused and misperceived. This makes him resentful of teaching because of what he insists it has done to him. The only way out of this particular aspect of the desert is still to leave. Footnote 118, that's chapter 143 and chapter 3, section 6. The thing to do with a desert is to leave. The way this is left is to release everyone involved by absolutely refusing to engage in any form of honoring error. Footnote 119. Honoring error means giving someone's erroneous perception of you the power that only truth should have. It is the same thing as siding with anyone's misperceptions of you, as the previous section says. Neither teacher nor pupil is imprisoned by learning unless he uses it as an attack. If he does this, he will be imprisoned whether he actually teaches or learns, or refuses to engage in the process at all. The role of a teacher, properly conceived, is one of leading himself and others out of the desert. Footnote 120. Jesus may have in mind the image of Moses here, who led his people out of the desert. The wilderness of Sinai is a desert, and indeed is often translated the Sinai Desert. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Okay, I apologize. Where are we? Okay, the value of this role can hardly be underestimated, if only because it was one to which I very gladly dedicated my own life. I have repeatedly asked my pupils to follow me. 121, Matthew 4:19, and he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." See also Matthew 8:22, 16:24, 19:21, and John 12:26 and 21:22. And if you'd like to pause again and look those up, go for it. This means that to be effective teachers, they must interpret teaching as I do. I have made every effort to teach you entirely without fear. If you do not listen, you will be unable to avoid the very obvious error of perceiving teaching as a threat. It is hardly necessary to say that teaching is a process whose purpose is to produce learning. The ultimate purpose of all learning is to abolish fear. This is necessary so that knowledge can happen. The role of the teacher is not the role of God. This confusion is all too frequently made by parents, teachers, therapists, and the clergy. It is a real misunderstanding of both God and His miracles. Any teacher who believes that teaching is fearful cannot learn because he is paralyzed. He also cannot really teach. You would be right to maintain that this course is a prerequisite for any rightful course you may teach. However, you would really be saying much more than that. The purpose of this course is to prepare you for knowledge. So is the only real purpose of any legitimate course. All that is required of you as a teacher is to follow me. Whenever anyone decides that he can function only in some roles but not in others, he cannot but be attempting to make a compromise which will not work. Footnote 122. As the first sentence of the next paragraph makes clear, this applies only to the roles you have properly undertaken to fill. If you are under the belief that you are coping with your fear of teaching by functioning in related roles but not as a teacher of students, you are merely deceiving yourself. Footnote 123. This was originally about Bill, who felt able to accept functioning as an administrator and as a teacher of interns, but not as a teacher of students, a classroom teacher. You owe yourself greater respect. There is nothing as tragic as the attempt to deceive oneself, because it implies that you perceive yourself as so unworthy that deception is more fitting for you than truth. Either you can function in all the roles you have properly undertaken to fill, or you cannot function effectively in any of them. This is an all or none decision. You cannot make inappropriate level distinctions within this choice. You are either capable or not. This does not mean that you can do everything, but it does mean that you are either totally miracle-minded or not. This decision is open to no compromise whatever. When you say that you cannot teach, you are acting as if universal laws apply to everyone except you. This is not only arrogant, but patently untrue. Universal laws must apply to you unless you do not exist. We will not bother to argue about this. Descartes engaged in a very interesting teaching procedure, and one from which he himself learned a great deal. He began with doubting the existence of everything except himself. Footnote 124. René Descartes engaged in a process in which he systematically doubted all that he believed in order to arrive at a piece of sure knowledge that was impossible to doubt. He arrived at the famous cogito, I think, therefore I am. He insisted that his own existence was not open to doubt and rebuilt his entire thought system on the one premise, I think, therefore I am. It is noteworthy that he arrived at accepting the entire system he originally doubted solely on the basis of this one piece of knowledge. There is, however, a distinct shift in his own perception. He no longer really questioned the reality of what he perceived, because he knew he was there. Perhaps you are not too sure of this, and for this reason, we suggest you concentrate on "Here I am, Lord," 125. "Here I am, Lord," resembles many statements in the Bible in which someone responds to a call from God. All references that follow are King James Version unless otherwise noted. Genesis 22:11, God calls Abraham and he answers, "Here I am." Here am I. In Exodus 3:4, God calls to Moses from the burning bush, and he also answers, "Here am I." 1 Samuel 3, God calls Samuel 3 times, and each time he answers, "Here am I." In Isaiah 6:8, God calls Isaiah, saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Isaiah answers, "Here am I, send me." Finally, in Acts 9:10, the risen Lord calls Ananias, who answers, "Here I am, Lord." This prayer was also used by Brother Lawrence, the 17th century monk, whose practice of constantly reminding himself of God's presence is recorded in the classic The Practice of the Presence of God. His form of the prayer was, "My God, here I am, all yours." See Cameo 1 for when Jesus first recommended this prayer as a meditation method for Bill. Repeat this very short phase and don't think of anything else. Just pull in your mind slowly from everywhere else and center it on these words. Here I am, Lord. A teacher is unlikely to be effective unless he begins with being there. This is not really open to question. You will lose all your fear of teaching and relating in any form once you know who you are. There is no point whatever in remaining in the prison of believing that this is up to you. You do not exist in different lights. It is this belief which has confused you about your own reality. Why would you want to remain so obscure to yourself? And that is the conclusion of section 9. I will go ahead and read Emily Bennington's notes from the Course Companions. Overview: the fear of teaching. I don't need to fear teaching because I am not at the mercy of the images that others hold of me. I am not an image. The foundation for my stance as a teacher is knowing who I am. Reflection. This section states that the ultimate purpose of all learning is to abolish fear. Keeping in mind that to teach others is to demonstrate by your words and your behaviors what is true for you, are you reinforcing the fear in yourself and others or seeking to abolish it? Excerpts. There is nothing as tragic as the attempt to deceive oneself because it implies that you perceive yourself as so unworthy that deception is more fitting for you than truth. That's 9:4, and then you do not exist in different lights. It is this belief which has confused you about your own reality. Why would you want to remain so obscure to yourself? That's paragraph 13, 5 through 7. Thank you so much for joining with me in section 9, day 60, the fear of teaching. Lord, here I am. Have a beautiful day.